Quite a different feeling this morning, huh? Oof, boy, oh boy, oh boy. 1 week ago, we were celebrating, we were excited. The Browns had just beaten the Pittsburgh Steelers, got above 500 for the first time. They're 3-2, they're heading to Jacksonville, then they get Oakland, then they get Tampa Bay, and you start to think, and rightfully so, after the performance that the Browns had against the Steelers, hey, they could go on a run here. Nope. No run for the Browns, unfortunately. Welcome to the morning after show, I guess, on cleveland.com. The show still doesn't have a name, so we'll go with the morning after show. It's Chris Fedor here. I am going to be joined, I think, by Dan Labbe. I've heard that he is still maybe in Jacksonville, hanging out in the pool, celebrating with their mascot of the Jaguars. Looked like a really good time. Jacksonville was celebrating this morning. That's all you have to know. The Browns are the reason that people in Jacksonville have a win to celebrate this morning, and that's what makes it so frustrating. And want to get your thoughts on this morning after as the Browns lose to the Jaguars 24-6 here on cleveland.com, 216-772-1373. That's the phone number if you want to jump on board. Again, 216-772-1373. You can also go to the comment section at the bottom of the post. You can leave any comments that you have. You can tweet at me, at Chris Fedor. As we try and recap this one, we'll pull out the Hoyer train, see where I stand on the Hoyer train. Chances are I'm not going to be moving up after his performance yesterday. 16 of 41. Whew, boy. Scoring 6 points against the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll hand out game balls, something that's also going to be very, very difficult. And we'll hand out grades as well. And like I said, hopefully Dan Labbe will join me from LaGuardia Airport if he gets his luggage and he gets everything all situated. But as I said, what a difference a week makes here for the Browns. And yeah, I think on one hand, this is life in the NFL. It's a fickle game. There's a reason that they have the phrase any given Sunday. But the more and more I think about it, and I had a night to sleep on it, and I was upset yesterday. I think a lot of Browns fans had a reason to be upset yesterday. After I had a night to sleep on it, I woke up this morning and I still felt just as crappy as I did yesterday. I still felt like there's no excuse to lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's what it comes down to more than anything else. After the way that the Browns played against the Pittsburgh Steelers, being better than them in every single phase, offensively, defensively, special teams, coaching, that was a butt-whooping against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That performance gave a lot of reason for optimism, a lot of reason for belief, a lot of reason for hope, thinking that the Browns had turned the corner. That was a signature win. It could have been a watershed moment in the franchise. Instead, they go into Jacksonville yesterday against the lowly Jaguars, a team that hadn't won a single game all year, a team that was getting outscored by 100 points, 100 points in 6 games, a team that was losing by an average of 17 points. The Browns go into that game against Jaguars as the better team with the better almost everything. And then they lose. Who do we have here? We got a call? Do we have Dan Labbe? What do we have? 216. We're still looking for Dan. 772-1373. You're on the show. Welcome to cleveland.com. Who am I talking to here?
Chris, you're talking to me.
Dan, what's up, buddy? You made it.
Yeah, not too much. I did. I flew through LaGuardia, and I'm sitting here at gate D something or other. And I had to be on the show. I had to see evidence of you making the Hoyer train crash and burn. Because that's kind of what happened yesterday.
We have the Hoyer train ready to go, Dan, and we will get to that. We'll also hand out game balls because we do that every single Monday. But unfortunately, that's going to be very, very difficult. And we actually made a rule that we can't hand them to anybody on the other team. So that's going to be tough. We'll do grades as well, but just your overall thoughts on this one, Dan. I haven't had a chance to talk to you since the game went final yesterday. I thought maybe after I went to bed last night, after I slept on it, I'd feel a little bit better. Dan, I feel worse.
Yeah, well, First of all, I want to make it clear that you made the rule about the game balls. I had the foresight to maybe think we should give it to other players. That's all right. As far as the game itself, though, I was reminded by it this morning because a couple people retweeted something I tweeted earlier in the week where I said, there's just no way the Browns can lose to this Jaguars team. They're that bad.
Right.
And then they went out and they did it. And, Brian Hoyer was awful. He was missing open throws. The coaching staff overthought everything. Why do you not kick a field goal and go up 3 scores against the worst team in football? 2 scores against the worst team in football. I have no idea. And then there was that weird 4th down play where they were trying to catch Jacksonville with too many men on the field. They had too few on the field, so it ended up not being a penalty at all. And they still couldn't convert the 4th down, by the way. Just so much overthinking yesterday from the coaching staff. Everything that we'd spent the last week raving about went completely wrong in that football game.
That's exactly right, Dan. As good as they played against the Steelers, and they beat the Steelers in every way imaginable, they were just as bad yesterday against Jacksonville. And I was like you, Dan. I looked at the matchups and I said, okay, let's go position by position. Let's see where the Browns have the edge over the Jaguars, and let's try and find a football-related reason, besides any given Sunday, a football-related reason or a couple of reasons why the Jaguars can beat the Browns. I couldn't find one, man. The Browns had the advantage in so many different areas, and coming off the win against the Steelers, Dan, there was every reason to believe that the Browns were ready to go into Jacksonville against one of the worst teams in the NFL and beat them and continue their momentum. Instead, they completely laid an egg.
Yeah, there were really only 2 ways I could think of that they lose this game. 1, they start turning the ball over like crazy.
Yep.
That didn't happen. Or 2, Blake Bortles just has the game of his life. I know you and I aren't really too high on Bortles to begin with, but if he'd have gone out and had the game of his life yesterday, maybe. That didn't happen. So those 2 things that I thought maybe could help Jacksonville win the game, neither happened, and still Jacksonville won the game.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's what makes it, I think, so hard here, Dan, is it wasn't Jacksonville playing an A-plus game. A couple of weeks ago, I was watching a game between Oakland and San Diego. And Oakland ended up losing that game, but they were in the game against San Diego. And I think a lot of people would admit, Dan, that San Diego is one of the best teams in the NFL so far this year, and Oakland's one of the worst. But what was happening in that game, Derek Carr was playing the game of his life. As a rookie quarterback, he's playing the game of his life, and that's why Oakland was still in that game against San Diego. And you're right, Dan. That wasn't the case yesterday for Jacksonville. Blake Bortles was not good in that game. He gave the Browns every opportunity by turning the ball over, taking sacks, missing throws. He missed that touchdown pass to Cecil Shorts. So that wasn't a case of the Jaguars just playing the game of the year against the Browns. That was a case of the Browns completely laying an egg and not doing anything that they needed to do offensively, or in some cases defensively, or in other cases on special teams.
Bortles did all the things that I think you and I had talked about that he does. He had a slow release working yesterday. Yep. He was telegraphing his passes, and the Browns were doing what they needed to do. They were taking advantage. And the offense, whenever the offense got the ball, they just couldn't do anything. And by the way, I don't know if you've talked about this yet or not, Chris. Why in the world is Terrence West even on the field right now? I understand maybe giving him a shot, but at this point, I talked about this with Tom and Mary Kay yesterday. You got to make a decision. You got to pick 2 backs, and we know who those 2 backs are going to be. And it's time to put Terrence West on special teams. Let him get himself right, because he doesn't belong out there running the football right now.
Yeah, and you know what, Dan? I'm not going to sit here and say that the Browns' season is over. I'm going to put it in perspective. I'm going to understand that they're 3-3, but this is the morning after losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah. And that's the thing that I cannot get over, bud. If you want to talk about, and some people have talked about this, Dan, some fans have talked about, well, the Jaguars are getting better. Maybe some people overlook the Jaguars. Their defensive line is this. Their wide receivers are that. That's life in the NFL. It's what happens every single Sunday to other teams around the NFL, not just the Browns. Then fine, go ahead and say those things. But Dan, I'm not going to try and polish this thing up and make it all pretty and find positives in this one, because I think that's ridiculous. The bottom line is the Jacksonville Jaguars have 1 win so far this year. 1 win, and it's against the Cleveland Browns. And to me, that's completely embarrassing.
Yeah, the other thing you look at is you had a chance to be 4-2. Cincinnati.
Yep.
Baltimore's playing well, but you could have stayed within a game of them and still kind of had a situation. But you still have a game left with them at the end of the year. And you lost this game. You should be 4-2, sitting on 2 really easy games. Everybody was thinking 6-2. Now, I wonder how are they going to respond against Oakland? Now you're not so sure they can even get to 5-3 at this point.
And you know what, Dan? People weren't just thinking 6-2 because, hey, we're Browns fans and everything's going to be positive and we're just going to be really, really optimistic. It was 6-2 because you were playing against teams at the time that were a combined 1-16, had a combined 1 win. So there was every reason to believe that they were going to be 6-2, and every reason to think that they had the talent to be 6-2. That wasn't just pie in the sky. That wasn't just optimism. That came from something. That stemmed from the way that they played against the Steelers and the way the schedule set up, and the fact that they're not going to be 6-2, Dan. Again, the season's not over, but the fact that they're not going to be 6-2 going into that game against Cincinnati is very, very frustrating. That's a missed opportunity. That's all it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm with you. I mean, the season's not over. They're 3-3. There's a lot of 3-3 teams in the NFL right now. It's just the way they got there. I mean, Jacksonville's so bad. And we saw how bad they were yesterday. Jacksonville played down to expectations yesterday. I was sitting actually on my flight from Atlanta to Jacksonville. I was sitting next to a Jaguars season ticket holder, and he was telling me about the team. He sounded like Browns season ticket holders have sounded since about 1999, just clinging to anything he could to be positive about their team. They played down to what we expected, and the Browns could not beat them. They should be 4-2. They're 3-3 now. Browns fans should be upset about this. They shouldn't be, heading out to the 480 bridge yet, but they should be upset about this. You lost to the worst team in football.
Yep, that's right. 216-772-1373. That's the phone number. If you have any comments, any questions, go to the comment section at the bottom of the post. You can leave those there. We've got one here from SC Cleveland fan. Did the coaching staff not know that when you run players on and off the field and on offense, the refs stand over the ball till both players are set, both teams are set, all the while the game clock is running? That is simply bad coaching.
Yeah, I mean, the coaches weren't great yesterday. All of them, Shanahan, Pettin, they were not outstanding yesterday.
Yeah, they weren't. And Mike Pettin, like you said, Dan, going for it on fourth down.
The decision to...
Go ahead, Danny.
On that fourth down, it was just bizarre.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Whether you're playing the Jaguars or the Raiders or the Buccaneers or the Redskins, whoever you're playing on the road, Dan, if you have an opportunity to go up 9, go up 10, go up 2 possessions, you have to take that opportunity. And I'm not saying that that's where the game was completely lost. I don't know if it was where the game was completely lost, but I would say that that was a momentum killer for the Browns. They had all the momentum. They were playing not great, but they were playing decent against Jacksonville. They had a chance to go up 9-0, and Mike Pettin said, hey, you know what? I'm not going to take points on the road. And that's baffling to me because you need all the points you can get when you're on the road.
Yeah, he looked a very difficult yesterday because if you go into that lock room, it's a different ball, obviously, than if you're trailing 7-6, or even if you're still 6-0, if they would have been able to stop the Jaguars. And Terrence West, I don't get that. I don't get why on every first down they were running that weird play with Brian Hoyer. It wasn't working. Maybe they were setting something up, but they never did anything off of it. It was, we've heard about Kyle Shanahan, Brian Hoyer, all of those guys had bad games. Now they're in a situation
Dan, let's talk about Brian Hoyer, because Brian Hoyer was somebody who a lot of people pointed to his record and what he had accomplished in the first 5 games. And yesterday against Jacksonville, I said this on my radio show over the weekend. I'm curious to see how Brian Hoyer and the team is going to respond when they don't have a great running game, they don't have a great offensive line. I've always felt that Brian Hoyer is the kind of quarterback that needs everything around him to be perfect or close to be perfect. He needs the offensive line to give him a lot of time so that he can let plays develop, so that he can go through his progressions, so that his receivers can get open. I've always felt like he's somebody who needs a great running game established so he can work off play action so that the defense can't key on him. I've always wondered, Dan, how Brian Hoyer is going to perform when more is expected of him offensively. And unfortunately, yesterday against Jacksonville, I think I got that answer, and I don't like that answer.
Yeah, now there were times yesterday when Jacksonville had really great coverage and nobody was open, but it's not enough for me to sit here and say, well, Jacksonville just did a really great job. There were guys open. There were throws he needed to make, and he just didn't make them. He was off. I don't know if it was the pressure. He hasn't faced that kind of pressure all season long, and maybe they missed Alex Mack yesterday. Oh, not maybe. They did miss Alex Mack yesterday. Something was wrong with Brian Hoyer again, whether it was the pressure, whether he was pressing a little bit because of all the contract talk and whatnot. He had his worst game as a Cleveland Brown yesterday, and it's not even close.
In your opinion, Dan, did Jacksonville give the NFL a blueprint on not just how to stop the Browns' offense, but how to attack Brian Hoyer?
I don't know if they really gave a blueprint. I think it was just simple pressure. Honestly, they stopped the run, and they brought pressure in the passing game. And I think, frankly, you're going to see, until the Browns prove that they have a capable center again, you're going to see teams come right up the middle. They're going to go after McQuiston. They're going to go after Greco. Maybe you're going to get into a situation where the Browns are going to move Greco back to guard and try Nick McDonald at center just to kind of stabilize things a little bit on the offensive line because Greco was so good at that guard position. But that's what teams are going to do. And you saw the Steelers did it last week, but the Browns were able to hold them off. This week, Jacksonville has a pretty good defensive line. I believe they were second in the NFL in sacks coming into this game.
They were.
They brought the pressure, and the Browns' offensive line couldn't handle it. Really stop the threat game, attack the offensive line where it's weak right now, and bring pressure on Brian Hoyer, make him uncomfortable.
All right, let's hand out game balls. Do you have any game balls that you're willing to hand out? I've got one, Dan. One game ball that I can think of.
I've got one, too. I'll let you go first. I hope it's not the same guy that I have.
I'm going Tayshaun Gibson of the Browns.
All right. That works.
Okay. I look at the guy, and he's a playmaker on defense, Dan. For so many years, we've been talking about the Browns trying to find playmakers, whether it be on offense or defense. Some of these interceptions have been easy for Gibson. They've come off pressure from Jamal Sheard or Paul Kruger. But I thought one of the plays that he made on one of his interceptions was a really, really good Tayshaun Gibson play. That was him breaking on the ball. That was him going out and making a play when the defense absolutely needed to have it. Turns out that it didn't matter because the Browns' offense was so bad and they couldn't even get a touchdown, not a single touchdown against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who were losing games by an average of 17 points. But I thought Gibson played well yesterday.
And going to what you talked about, kind of getting some of those picks off of pressure and getting some of those picks off hits on the quarterback, that's big for this team. They haven't even had that in a long time, to have a guy that, when a quarterback gets hit, throws a bad ball, can go and get the football. Tayshaun Gibson was fantastic yesterday. Okay, mine is a little bit, I didn't think I would give a game ball to this guy, but I'm trying to think. I thought he actually played a really good game yesterday. How about Justin Gilbert?
What?
I thought Justin Gilbert played a good game. There were a number of times yesterday when I was watching and Justin Gilbert had really good coverage on somebody. I'm going Gilbert. Give him a game ball. You took Gibson from me.
So wait, I take Gibson from you and you go Gilbert?
Who else?
Maybe Buster would have been a better option.
No way.
What?
Buster Screen missed about 3 tackles.
At least he had a pick, Dan.
No, Buster Screen missed about 3 or 4 tackles that probably gave Jacksonville first downs and kept drives going. Justin Gilbert was actually pretty decent in coverage yesterday.
Are you serious? You're going Justin Gilbert.
Yeah, it was so bad yesterday that I got the game ball to a guy who was just decent in coverage.
Can you name me a play that he made? Because I was watching the game yesterday. I remember one time he got flagged for something, but I can't remember a play he made.
There was a throw down the sideline, and I'm trying to remember who the pass was to. There was a throw down the sideline that he defended really well. There were actually a couple throws down the sidelines that he had really good defense on, didn't let receivers get past him. I thought it was probably, for what it's worth, the bar is very low. I thought it was probably his best game just as a coverage corner. We'll see if he can build off of it, but I'm going Gilbert. My guy Gilbert.
I will say this, Dan. I think it's fitting that we both went on defense because I felt like the Browns' defense at times gave the Browns' offense a number of different opportunities to just get something together, some kind of momentum, something that would let the defense not have to work with like 30 yards before the Jacksonville Jaguars scored.
I got to board my plane here in a little bit. I think I'm going to start boarding in a couple minutes. So I gotta know, Hoyer train.
Oh,
how far back are you moving? Are you just jumping?
I'm going to get it, Dan. I'm going to get the. Hold on. Oh boy.
This is going to be
Here we
bad.
go. Here we go. Got to move my computer.
You're just going to erase the whole thing, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
It's gone. Just draw flames around it.
All right, we got the Hoyer train ready to go. So before I was like right in the middle, actually, basically.
Yeah, you were moving up.
I was moving up. That was a big win against Pittsburgh, so I was moving up. I'm erasing me. Notice I'm using the eraser, Dan. I'm not using my finger.
You know, fingers are effective erasers as well.
Yeah, here we go. Here we go. All right. I'm not left-handed. So, Brian's at the front. His agent's at the front.
Still driving. Not holding as much money this week.
No, not at all. The agent's losing money. So,
A little light in the wallet.
let's erase that dollar that he's holding. Let's erase that one as well. Johnny is moving back.
Oh, yeah, Johnny's
moving back too.
Johnny's getting into a car that gives him enough room to warm up in.
All right. Johnny's going to go here. There he is. Those legs that are going to be so effective maybe at the end of the season. And my man's smiling here because he's feeling like he might be getting an opportunity sometime soon. So that's where Johnny is. I was here. I'm going to go, Dan, that was bad yesterday. That was
awful.
That was all kinds of bad. And to be honest with you, he wasn't very good against Pittsburgh either. That was lost in the win against the Steelers, is that he was 8 of 17.
He made a couple throws in that game, but you're right. He was not great.
Yeah, and Jacksonville was the number 31 defense in the NFL. And Brian Hoyer couldn't score a touchdown against the Jaguars. Not a single touchdown. And I'm telling you, boy, I feel like a lot of his flaws showed up yesterday against Jacksonville. I wanted to answer, how is he going to do when more of the offense is in his hands and some team finds a way to eliminate the running game? And that answer was not good, and that could be a sign of things to come. So where's the station? Is this, all right, I'm drawing a station. I'm back on the platform. I'm not even on the train.
Oh, man.
I'm back on the platform.
You've just gotten off a train. You're looking for another train.
I'm waiting for another stop, one that's going to lead me to Manziel.
That's bad.
That's where I'm at.
Or Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, well, I'm not there yet, Dan, but I'm on the platform waiting for the train.
All right, hey, that's fair. I can't argue with you. I don't even think the Hoyer train is moving this week. I think it's just sort of sitting at the station. Probably moving backwards, actually. Trying to recapture some of that magic from New Orleans. I don't know.
All right, give a grade to Brian Hoyer for yesterday. D-Man gave him an F.
You have to. That's really the only grade he deserves, isn't it? He didn't make a single play yesterday. He honestly, I can't think of a single play that Brian Hoyer made yesterday. So he's got to get an F.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm right there with you. Can we give a G? Can I give a G?
I don't think so. People might misconstrue that for good.
I don't think anybody's going to mistake that one for good, Dan, after yesterday's game.
G is for good. It's like Sesame Street here. Yeah, that was, oh my gosh.
All right.
Yeah, G.
Your grade for Ben Tate yesterday?
I will give him a C. I thought he gave you a little bit, but not enough.
Where was Isaiah Crowell yesterday? Why did he not get more involved?
I have no idea. He's got to be your number 2 back right now. He has to. Terrence West should not get any carries this week.
I mean, I was watching that game yesterday, Dan, and I'm thinking to myself, where is Isaiah Crowell? He's somebody who has been able to ignite the offense at times.
You and pretty much everyone in the press box at times wondered where Isaiah Crowell was. It was baffling, again, to see Terrence West out there a week after being inactive because he didn't practice well, to see Terrence West out there getting carries over Isaiah Crowell at times.
You know, Dan, I'm kind of curious now, after this loss against Jacksonville, what the Browns are going to do, what the Browns are going to try and do to have a better performance against Oakland. And Oakland's not great either. Oakland hasn't won a game all year. They've been competitive in a few. They were competitive yesterday against Arizona, competitive 2 weeks ago against San Diego. But I'm curious to see what they're going to try and do after some of their weaknesses, especially offensively, were exposed by Jacksonville yesterday.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, congratulations to the Browns. You've gone from all that progress against Pittsburgh to being the team that winless teams look at as maybe getting that first win against.
Yep.
So they have that going for them. As far as what they need to do, I mean, first of all, Brian Hoyer's got to get better. He's just got to make those throws that are there. They're going to be available to him. He's got to make them. Defensively, they've got to stop the run. Denard Robinson rushed for 127 yards yesterday. His previous season high, his previous career high was 33 a few weeks ago. So Denard Robinson just tore this defense apart. So they've got to get better in the run defense. They've got to shore up their tackling again. And the big thing is you got to figure out a way to run the ball because this team is not going to be effective if they can't run the ball. Brian Hoyer's just not good enough.
Oh, boy, Dan, I'll tell you what. We went from so much excitement over the win against the Steelers to now wondering, can this team beat Oakland?
Yep, that's where it's like, before the Jacksonville game, I said to somebody, if they lose this game, all that progress from the Steelers game is lost. And now it's lost. Now you got to start back over. You're 3-3. You got to start from scratch now.
All right, before you get on that plane, a grade for Mike Pettin yesterday.
Oh, boy. I don't know if I want to give him an F, but D. Although I don't know, I'm having trouble convincing myself not to give him an F. Just the decision making. He looks like a rookie head coach yesterday. He got out coached. He made bad decisions. You got to take the points on the road, especially when your offense is struggling. If your offense would have been cruising along, taking that chance, but there was no good reason to do that. I think they tried to be too cute. Him and Kyle Shanahan, just go out there, impose your will, do what you're able to do against Jacksonville, and they chose not to do that yesterday.
Yeah, I think that's an F for me too, Dan. I'm going to go with the F. I give Hoyer an F. I give Mike Pettin an F. You mentioned it, the 2 4th down attempts. I thought those were foolish. I don't think you can ever leave points on the board if you're on the road, even if you're playing against Jacksonville. I'm sorry. Are you boarding? Is that what it is, Dan? Are you boarding now?
No, not yet. I think they're going to start boarding here in a minute, though, so I should probably get going.
All right, you do that. You catch your plane, and I'll finish things up from here as we're about to get out of here. All right, bud?
There's about 5 different gates here, so I'm not sure who they're calling. All right, well, I will talk to you later, Chris.
All right, sounds good. There he is, Dan Labbe. That's awesome. Right. We don't want Dan to miss his plane. The last thing we want is him hanging out in Florida and in Jacksonville where people are celebrating a win. I mean, think about that. Think about the headlines last week. People were talking about, well, the Cleveland Browns have arrived. The Browns have turned the corner. I was doing the national perspective post for cleveland.com, and it was Peter King leading Monday morning quarterback talking about the Browns because that's how big that win was against the Steelers. A lot of people thought that that was going to be the turning point for the Browns, an opportunity for them to build on that, gain some momentum. No, did not happen. Instead, they lose to the lowly Jacksonville Jaguars. And now the headlines are, well, are the Browns the same team that they've always been? Is this the same old Browns? Has the factory of sadness really changed that much? It's a frustrating day. And as I was saying to Dan, it doesn't mean that the season is over, and I understand that. In the big picture, if you look at the standings, they're 3-3. But this is Monday. This is the day after the Browns just lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And that is embarrassing. No matter what you say, any given Sunday, it happens in the NFL. The Seahawks lost to the Rams. The Steelers lost to the Buccaneers a couple of weeks ago. The bottom line is the Jacksonville Jaguars have one win on the season. One. and it's against the Cleveland Browns. That's not anybody blowing anything out of proportion. That's not the media making a big deal about something. That's the reality of what happened yesterday. The Browns lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars 24-6. They couldn't even get one touchdown on offense. The Browns' offense was averaging about 26 points per game. Jacksonville had lost 6 games by a total of more than 100 points. That's what happened yesterday. And that's why it's so frustrating. And now, all the questions that you had, all the questions, they have popped right back up. Is Brian Hoyer the long-term answer? That's going to be a question that continues. When are we going to see Johnny Manziel? That's going to be another question that continues. Is Mike Pettin over his head? When you lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars, yes, questions are going to come like that. Even if you are 3-3. That Steelers win, it just seems so long ago. What a difference a week makes. But the Browns, they're going to have to find a way to bounce back. And have to find a way to regroup, get their stuff together, and beat the Oakland Raiders. And they should. I still believe they should beat the Oakland Raiders. The thing that has to happen is they need to play better. They can't lay an egg again. Because if you go matchup by matchup again, if you look at football-related reasons, you can't find too many why Oakland would be able to beat the Browns. So the Browns should be able to bounce back and beat the Raiders. Can they? We'll see. We'll find out. But there are way more questions about this team after this loss against Jacksonville. That's what happens when you lose to the worst team in the NFL. All right, that's it for today. Whatever we're calling this show, the morning after show here on cleveland.com. Thanks to all of you for joining us. Sorry if Dan's connection was a little bit fuzzy. This was the one time where he was stuck in an airport. Hopefully he'll be back with me in studio and we can recap a win again. That would be so nice because last week was so much more fun. Talking about the excitement, talking about beating the Steelers. We'll be back with you next week right here every single Monday recapping the Browns game on cleveland.com.